This lesson is on multiplying and dividing integers. So rules for multiplying and dividing are you find the product or quotient of the absolute values, and then if you are multiplying with the same sign, whoops, wrong thing. If you're multiplying with the same sign, your answer is positive. If you're multiplying with different signs, your answer is always negative. So then you go through and you look at the numbers and you say, okay, I have -8 times +4. Well, 8 times 4 is 32. So then you go back up to your rules. A negative times a positive is going to be negative. So think about it. You have 4 groups of -8s. So that's going to give you the -32. So -25 times -3. So take their absolute value. 25 times 3 is 75. You have a negative times a negative. So same sign. Answer is always going to be positive. So it's going to be a positive 75. And then if we're going to skip down to number 7, same rules apply. You have -72 divided by 9. So just like with multiplying, I divide my two values. So 72 divided by 9 is 8. And then since one's negative, one's positive, that's two different signs, it's going to give me a -8. So pause the video, and I want you to fill out 4, 5, 6, and then 8 through 12, and then unpause and see the answers. So take a minute and check your answers with those problems that I had you do on your own. So this next piece is division properties of 0. This is a very important piece in Algebra 1 and Math 8. When you take 0 and divide it by a number, you think to yourself, okay, so I'm taking 0 and I'm going to divide it into 8 groups. So how much is going to be in each group? Oh, well, there's going to be 0 in each group. But if I took 8 and divide it into groups of 0, I can't do that. I can't take 8 things and put them into groups of 0 things because I always have something. So anytime you have division by 0, it is considered undefined. That is the word I need you to use, undefined, because you can't take something and break it into groups of nothing. I can take nothing and break it into groups of 8 because there's going to be nothing in each group, but I can't take 8 and make it nothing. So that's your division properties. The order of operations, we always call that PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The first thing you always do is your grouping symbol. So if there's anything inside your grouping symbols, you solve those first. And then you do anything with exponents. So that's going to be like those little guys up top. Multiply or divide, you do that from left to right. Add or subtract, you do that from left to right. It doesn't matter if multiplication comes first and then division or vice versa. You're going to work left to right. If division came first, you have to do that first and then do the multiplication. So when you look at the first two examples here, what I see is multiplication, subtraction, and division. So the first thing you're going to do is the multiplication and division. So you're going to look at -5 times 8, and we're going to say it's -40. And then I'm going to take -100 divided by 4, and that's -25. Then what I do is I drop my subtraction sign down. Now I go back to my adding and subtracting integers rule. So I have -40 minus -25. When you have that double negative, that becomes that positive. So I've got -40, positive 25. I put those two together, and I get -15. Pause the video and go ahead and do number 2. You should have gotten 57. This last piece that I'm going to show you is evaluating algebraic expressions when x is -3, y is 8, and z is -4. To do this, I'm going to say when you have x, y, z, what that means is anytime you have a variable and another variable smacked up against each other, it's multiplication. So this problem here is saying I want you to take -3 times 8 times -4. And when you do that, you're going to get 96. This next one is extremely important. When you have x squared y, what this means is you want to square x's value. There is a huge difference, since x is -3, there is a huge difference between this and this. What this one means is that I want to square everything. I want to square the negative sign and I want to square 3. That's when I take x squared. It's saying I want you to square everything that x is. And in this instance, x is negative 3. So it has to be in parentheses. Has to be. And then I'm going to take that times 8. What you get here, exponents first, you'll get 9 times 8, which is going to be 72. So if I didn't put that in parentheses and I said negative 3, the quantity, or negative 3 squared, what this means is I'm only attaching the 2 to the 3. I'm only saying I want you to square 3, which is 9. But then the negative sign is going to drop down with it. So you'll see the difference here is, in this instance, when you have negative 3 squared without parentheses, it's negative 9. When you have negative 3, the quantity squared, it is positive 9. So in this last one, we're going to do, in absolute value, negative 3 squared times z, which is negative 4. PEMDAS says do what's inside parentheses first. Well, these are absolute value symbols. They're acting as a grouping symbol. So I have to do what's in there first. So I have to do my exponent first, and then I have to do my multiplication. So in this instance, I'm going to get, don't know why that just did that, I'm going to get the quantity negative 3 squared, which is positive 9, times negative 4. It's going to continue down in my absolute value symbols. 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. And then in the end, once I simplified everything in there, I'm going to evaluate the absolute value of negative 36, which is a positive 36. So this lesson was about multiplying and dividing integers, same sign, positive answer, different sign, negative answer. It was also about PEMDAS, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And what this is parentheses or grouping symbols first, then exponents, then multiply or divide, then add or subtract. This is the order in which you solve multi-operational problems. And then the last piece of this lesson was evaluating these expressions.